pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have somebody move the agenda table, please? Moved by Mr. Butler, second by Mrs. Flores. Sorry, I'm having a little stroke. Any additions, corrections, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda? That passes 8-0. I'd like to take a moment here to please join me this evening as we congratulate Dr. Shannon Heller, principal of the Early Learning Center, as a 2023 recipient of the New York State PTA Family Engagement Award in honor of Jamie Beth Knapp. This recognition is so deserved that Shannon has an unwavering dedication to our students and their family success. From the monthly new parent introductions, Westie's Wardrobe, Westie's Food Pantry, to partnerships in the community, including her hands-on involvement in the PTA at the Early Learning Center, Shannon is committed to getting the families of our youngest students engaged in the school community right from the start. Not only does Dr. Heller and her team welcome families to the school, but they also travel to where students live to develop relationships and build trust. Family engagement at its best. Dr. Heller will be recognized at the 127th New York State PTA Annual Convention, November 11th, 2023 in Albany. On behalf of the Board of Education and the Greece community, we'd like to congratulate you, Dr. Heller. Congratulations. And I'm going to make you do a picture with the superintendent, Dr. Payne, and I thought I saw Kelly Sperduto somewhere in here. Yep, and Kelly Sperduto. Congratulations, Dr. Heller. All right, we'll roll into our union comments. I don't believe there's anybody here from GTA. President Eberts has a family emergency, so he will not be here this evening. GASA, Mr. Ferris.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. I'm Mike Ferris, the principal at Autumn Lane Elementary. Today I have the honor to update you on the amazing work being done in our schools to support each and every child. The focus of this presentation is to highlight the common actions we as leaders are doing to address academic achievement and social emotional learning. I'll also share specific examples of professional learning opportunities that are happening that are directly correlated to those themes. Increasing rigor and academic achievement is the top priority for all of our schools. Our elementary schools are accomplishing this by developing foundational literacy and providing professional learning of the ARC core curriculum. For example, at Petty Hill, Buckman Heights, and English Village, teachers have spent the first month of the year anchoring into the essential instructional elements of the ARC core reading program and have already begun embedding them into their classroom instruction. So big shout out to those teachers over at those schools that I highlighted. A special thank you to Suzanne Pettifer and her team for the outstanding leadership with the rollout and the implementation of this critical work. Social emotional learning is another focus area of our schools. The best practices of Leader in Me and the utilization of high-quality lesson criteria are used to accomplish this. Specifically, At Autumn Lane, Athena Middle, and Lakeshore, those schools are where goal setting and self-reflection are the priority indicators for student success. Our secondary schools have prioritized building teacher capacity in the areas of student engagement and highly effective teams. We believe that by building teacher efficacy, there will be a direct impact on student achievement. I'd like to highlight the summer professional learning retreat offered by Olympia. There, Principal Jones and his staff unpacked topics like the WISE feedback protocol and active processing of information. Way to go, Mr. Jones. Our secondary schools have also focused their attention on building student social emotional skills. Specifically at Athena High School, the staff reviewed student survey data, and it was clear that students wanted more voice and choice in their SEL curriculum. In response, Athena is offering a variety of SEL lessons and topics to accomplish this. Another common theme among buildings is to focus on restorative practices. At Odyssey, some professional learning is focused on trauma-informed practices and interventions to support this important work. As you can see, there is tremendous work being done in our buildings to address academic achievement and social-emotional learning. On behalf of GASA, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for your tremendous support. Without your dedication and passion for the Greece Central School District, many of these great things highlighted tonight would not be possible. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you.
I don't have anybody from AgSup, Gus, or Teamsters, correct? All right, moving on to staffing. Can I have somebody move the staffing to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, second by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, or concerns on staffing? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Can I have somebody move the tenure to the table, please? Moved by Dr. Trawick, second by Vice President Laura. Any comments, questions, or concerns on tenure? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to 2.03, the GTA MOAs for additional FTEs. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Butler, seconded by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, concerns on those? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to 2.04, the lead district safety officer and district safety officer amendment. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Butler, seconded by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Vice President Malora. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to summer program highlights. Superintendent Groutman.
Yeah, I'm going to have Dr. Payne, Dr. Colicchio, and Mr. Smalling come on up to do this presentation. As many of you know, we had sort of record programming happening here in Greece over the summer, and we're really, really proud of that. We've presented on what was going on over the summer, but what we also want to do is make sure that we're also evaluating sort of how well our programs have gone and sort of what impact those summer programs have had. So what we're going to do tonight is sort of review what happened over the summer and then also just share some of the data that we have been able to collect, knowing that some of it still isn't in. We're still waiting on a few things that will be coming in a few short weeks. But I thank you for the work putting together the presentation and look forward to hearing the results.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. So yes, it was a very, very busy summer, and I know that we came before you before with all of the different things that we were offering across the district. So this evening, we're going to be giving you some data, as Kathy said. It's worthy of mention, though, that many of these things that we were able to offer were a result of the funding that we've received, the ARP funding that we received. But it was an absolute huge lift with everything that happened across the district. Planning preparations that went into that across many departments, from facilities, human resources, finance department, like everybody was involved. And I'd like to ask everybody that was involved in having their hand in summer programming in some way this evening to stand up, to be recognized by the Board of Education for your hard work. Come on, community school people, let's go. great. So, you know, one of the things that we do is we reflect on how we're doing things, and data is one way that we do that. But I just wanted to also inform you that we've already come together under Todd Smith's leadership, sort of bringing the group together, having conversations around what went well and what do we need to do next year for what we're able to do for our kids. So I think it's important for you to know that our parents spoke and we listened. Right? We have heard over and over again that we need more opportunities for our kids. So what we're going to share with you this evening is, again, just a glimpse of that. For the interest of time, we're not going to go through every single program, but I just wanted to have you look at this slide here, and just a reminder that on the right-hand side of the slide are some of the camp offerings that we had available. And that just shows you sort of the participation, the numbers of kids that were in that. And we will be having an update in your next board report that Kathy provides for you on the summer fun camps specifically. But moving on with some of the data. Our summer reading program. So this summer reading program is what we offer for our K-2 students. All of the students that participated in our summer reading received the daily phonological awareness lessons, small group reading instruction, and targeted age-appropriate writing skills. You know, we are really thrilled that our kids don't make summer slide. That's one of the reasons that we do this, and happy to report that 75% of our students made growth with the in school pace, with around their individual goals that we look at. Also, 25% of our students maintained, and 18% of our students made more than 2 months worth of growth. So really, really excited about that. 85% of the students showed growth in writing, because writing was a huge component of this program as well, specifically around their writing mechanics and their elaboration skills. So really excited about that. We also will have for you the iReady benchmark assessments that we give. We just kind of closed the window on that, so we will have some data for you on that in Kathy's next report for you as well, for students that participated in that. Our Jump Start program. So we offered 2 3-week Jump Start sessions this year. We welcomed 34 students that were able to participate in this. The students really came into school to learn like the routine structures, what is school all about? And, you know, our parents received GLOWs, GROWs, and goals, which gave specific feedback on their particular children. But I would say that the feedback that we've received from a lot of our kindergarten teachers is just how ready our kids were for kindergarten. So this is a super exciting program that we're excited to be able to offer. Some data around iReady. So we offered we were able to support 112 students in kindergarten through grade 8 through our virtual flexible option for our students to engage in different types of support. Families could go away on vacation, and students could still benefit from this type of support. They were able to receive feedback, and again, the benchmark, the iReady benchmark just closed, so we'll have this data for you in Kathy's next report. English as a New Language summer program. So we had 94 students participate in this. The focus for our students that participated in this program was around their oral language development. Pleased to report that 75% of the students showed growth or maintained their speaking level proficiencies that participated in this. Also some data around this. We had a family night ice cream social, making sure that we're really engaging our families, and we had over 50% of the families that participated in this program that showed up for that. So sort of some fun data around ice cream, but we're always happy when we can get our families in early. And then our middle school program, again, we received some feedback that this was an area, these transition years are hard for kids. Again, our parents spoke, we listened. We were able to offer 170 students this opportunity, 170 students participated across all 4 schools. And the focus was on that 5th go 6th grade transition, which we know can be really, really tough for kids. In an initial survey, 35% of the students said that they were extremely nervous about going to middle school. And at the end of that program, it was 0% of students who talked about being nervous. So really, really excited about that. Additionally, 100% of the staff that participated in that said that they would do it all over again. 96% of students that helped with that, because our students were involved as serving as mentors, said that they would return to help support that. 96% of them say they would be interested in that. And 85% of the kids that participated in said that they would recommend it to a friend. So some great data to share with you around that this evening. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy to talk about extended school year.
Good evening. Extended school year, or ESY, was offered again this year in district. It was held in Pine Brook School. As many know, extended school year is very different than some of the other programs that were just mentioned. Extended school year is specifically for students in special education that are determined eligible for extended school year through the CSE process. So it's a little different than what Vail was just talking about. This past year, we had 208 students enrolled across multiple programs. There were 168 staff members, including teachers, related service providers, teaching assistants, aides, and program leaders. And this year, our students were able to extend some of their learning outside of the classroom and attend the fish hatchery, also the Athena High School for a movie. They also went to the public library, Ontario Play Place, and you can't really be going to Lugia's for ice cream as well. So, also, I was able to spend or stop in a couple of times to extend school year, and I really want to take this opportunity to thank the work that the special education department did and everybody that participated, the teachers that put that time in. That is very demanding work. You have to be planned, look at student work, and come back every day for our students. And it is an extended school year for everybody that does that. So I just want to say thank you for your hard work, and definitely our students appreciate your support.
I get to be Debbie Downer to talk about secondary summer school. But honestly, our programming is unique and unlike many districts. And I tell the students, it's kind of like going to the gym. You never really want to walk out through the door, but when you leave, it's usually with a sense of accomplishment and feeling good about what you've achieved. So throughout the pandemic and before, we've maintained the same programs. We have BOCES Regional Summer School, which regional means we service the region. This year it was housed in Greece at Olympia High School, but it served students in all of Monroe 2 BOCES. We have the BOCES Alternative Summer School. That is a program that is run by Greece for Greece. That occurred at Athena this year for grades 9 through 12. And then our World Language Credit Recovery Program, which is a brief program that we run at Athena that I'll go into a little bit later. But what's really important about summer learning this summer is that we have returned to pre-pandemic standards, yet the students still have all of the needs that they had that came along with COVID. So there were many students who still required summer services in some way. This chart, there's a lot of going on here, but it explains the differences between regional summer school, and I'm going to tell you, regional summer school looks, smells, acts just like it did 30 years ago, right? It's no different. It's 6 weeks of curriculum, or it's a full year of curriculum jammed into 6 weeks. You have to learn all of it. There aren't portions where you can check in or check out. It's not individualized in any way. And then, yes, you have the Regents exam and other requirements that go with it. Alternative summer school is actually the summer school all of us would like to attend, but unfortunately it's labor intensive and it has to be smaller because of that. And that's where it's made up of students who are over age, undercredited, sometimes attendance is a struggle, and they may have different socio-emotional needs. But the beautiful thing about alternative summer school is because it's small, we can individualize it. So if you learned the unit on the Civil War, you don't need to redo it again if you can prove that you've mastered that content. So for students, it's really motivating because, again, they can cover what they need to cover to meet the standard, and then they can move on. So we're really excited about that program. It gives students the extra time and support that they need to meet graduation requirements, whichever program they're in. What's really awesome is both of them are run by Greece teachers. John Clifford moved over to the regional summer school program. He is a teacher at Athena, he's been at the regional summer school for 20-something years. John moved over to the alternative summer school, and Scott Mikulski, who is a teacher, English teacher at Arcadia, jumped in at the last minute and became principal of regional summer school this year at Olympia, and it's always wonderful for us, for our students, to see familiar faces in leadership roles in these positions. In regional summer school, again, this is the larger one, but there were 336 credits recovered by Greece students. And I know the font is incredibly small here, but it's no surprise that the largest or the tallest bars are ninth grade courses. As you know, just like Dr. Payne mentioned, that sixth grade is a huge transition year, so is ninth grade for students developmentally. So those ninth grade credits can be a struggle, so we typically see more students taking courses in ninth grade subjects. Again, students have to follow the pace of the curriculum within the class, and there's not much individualization. For alternative summer school, again, I know it's much smaller. Each school of the 4 high schools is given a specific number that they can enter. This year we had 178 enrolled, which is one of the highest numbers we've ever seen. We spent a lot of time this year spending more time picking the right students for summer school to make sure that they were not only in the place they needed to be, but they would stay throughout. And they recovered over 304 credits. The average student did 2.13 credits, which means many students did more than 1 or 2 classes. At regional summer school, because of timing, and again, it's not individualized, students are not allowed to take more than 2. Again, we spent more time picking the right students, and we added a teacher this year because, again, we knew the needs of students was going to be more individualized. And this is actually a process that starts in March. We had Stacy Pike as a teacher coordinator, and if you know Stacy, she's the fantastic Arcadia cheerleading coach who runs her cheerleading squad more like a football team. But she is that perfect blend of mother duck, right? She's got one hand around the kids and one foot behind them, kind of kicking them along and doing a fantastic job. The students responded really well, and again, we had an increase in the number of credits achieved this year. And because of this program, we specifically put our seniors in there to make sure they get what they need to get through. We had 20 seniors graduate in August this year just because of this program. And finally, Shauna Sweet runs the World Language Credit Recovery Program. This is for students who just need to retake the exam required. Most 8th graders take it. It's 4 days. It's 4 days of crash course, giving students a little bit of what they need to get through the exam. And we had 44 students achieve passing on the level 1 exam and receive their world language credit. So that's, again, another unique program to Greece that we're very proud of. Any questions?
Questions? All right. Oh, Mark.
Just curious on the English as a new language students. You mentioned 75% showing growth. I guess I think of those students maybe as new entrants in the district. Is there a, do they have prior experience? Do we have background on them so that we can actually see that kind of progress, or any progress, I guess?
Yeah, so all of those students, and again, Shauna could speak most specifically to it, but all of the students that were in that program were entering or emerging. So there were students, you talk about an impressive program. We had students, and Shauna and her team was so astute in identifying kids that were going to be coming to us in the fall. So like trying to scoop them up early to make them part of what we do, making them feel, welcomed, and really immersing them deeply in Greece, including what I was sharing about, like why we were so excited that even with that, like ice cream, we had 50% of the families participating in that.
Great, that's fantastic, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Bonagario?
I have to ask, did any of the students at Lugia's order a large and successfully finish it? I'm just curious.
I don't have that data.
I have a funny story about one of our students, and the truck actually came to Pinebrook, and so the portions were like pre-measured, but one of our students, Shaden, came up to me and said, "Ms. Stevenson, can I get another ice cream?" And
questions? I just have one. Dr. Clickio, on page 11, there, you highlighted the English, or the ninth grade classes. How did our ninth graders do in regards to credit recovery for like English 9, Algebra 1, et
I
cetera?
can get you that later.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had
I
it.
don't want to make, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not sure how many of those 336 credits were for those courses.
Well, that's what, I was just curious to know how they did, if we were
Right.
winning or not.
Well, and again, it's why we, and I think you, as a board, put so much stress on ninth grade. It is crucial, and again, I preach it every time I can. Students who leave ninth grade with the correct amount of credits typically graduate on time. So that's why we put so much effort in our best teachers teaching that level to make sure that that happens. So, got to get them over that high school hump.
Thank you. All right, moving on 4.02, strategic plan focus areas. Superintendent Groutman.
Yes, so as you know, we have identified literacy as a key focus area this year. I've done that in my goals in particular, but also we have worked as a team to really identify some district priority work areas. In an effort to share ownership, we have a lot going on with literacy in terms of the new curriculum that's being implemented, but there is also a lot of work that we can all do across all departments and content areas to support this important effort. And to Kathy's point, that whole idea of getting kids to read by third grade is essential in terms of their success. It's connected to so many researched success areas. So with that, I'm going to have Suzanne come on up and give us an update, and Val, around some of the work that's going on related to literacy. And Julie, too, I apologize, Julie Parsons, Suzanne Pettifer, and Dr. Val Payne again.
So we keep adding people because it is a priority, right?
Right.
And So thank you. And yes, the literacy update. So I know this is something that we have said loud and clear is a priority, and I appreciate actually Mike Ferris's comments tonight about GASA and the work that's being done, because it is a priority. So we want to begin this evening by grounding you in our connection with a strategic plan. So the literacy series that we are focused on in this particular part of the strategic plan is, number one goal, igniting learning. More specifically, this commitment that we're adopting a curriculum that includes culturally authentic learning experiences that mirrors students' diverse identities and ways of understanding, communicating, demonstrating curiosity and knowledge. Like, this language is lifted right from our strategic plan. And then the strategies to get there. So when you look at the strategies under this particular commitment that I just had up, we are building the capacity of our leaders to create a culture of professional learning, collaboration, self-reflection, and feedback. And so we're being really, really intentional so that with the idea of this particular strategy, we have a theory of action that's aligned with our bigger understanding and developing our knowledge around literacy. Tonight, we're going to be sharing with you what our district leaders are doing to support the work of the building leaders and how that's going to look for our teachers and for our students. So we're going to be providing you updates throughout the school year on this literacy series as we roll out the ARC core. So this evening, we're going to give it to you in sort of bite-sized chunks. So it seemed to make sense for us to start with kindergarten through grade 2. In November, Shauna Sweet is going to be here giving a presentation around our biliteracy program, what that's going to be looking like, and what that's going to mean as far as the professional development that our teachers are receiving there as well for our literacy focus. And then in February, we're going to be looking at grades 3 through 5. May, we will be focusing on our middle school students. And then in June, we're going to kind of come back with a reflection of the year. So we just wanted to kind of lay this out for you, what that was going to look like, all right? Because we thought that, instead of updating you on every single part of it, kind of give it to you in bite-sized chunks. So sort of outlining the details, Suzanne is up next to talk a little bit about the trajectory maps.
So the goal of us taking each individual grade band is also just to give you an idea of vertical alignment over time as well. So many of the things that you're going to hear about tonight continue on in other grade level bands. And so by the end, you'll also have an idea of how things are connected. So we're really excited about that. We're going to be also grounding you in the science of reading research tonight as we highlight information from the National Reading Panel report, which was released in 2000, and it has been used as an anchor document for us as a district to really examine our practices and consider our next steps in literacy instruction. So the trajectory map and goals, there's a link at the top to this, and the reason why the trajectory map is so important is because it really outlines for us throughout the year what we will be working on. So the goals right now for September, October, are the same for everybody K-8. We want to make sure our kids come in. We want to make sure that we look at how they are engaged as readers. And there's 4 points to the scale for reader engagement. Are they reading because they love to read? And, you say, okay, it's time to stop. And they're like, oh, can I finish this chapter? Or are they just like, thank God that's over, right? Or are they twirling in a corner? Right? Just like waiting and pretending they're reading, right? So there's all those kinds of things, and we really try to have interviews with students and really kind of learn about that and score them on this continuum and really have discussions with them about how they feel about their reading. By October, though, we really want to get to leveling our students because now we've learned about them as readers. We want them all leveled in school pace by the end of this week. Actually, we were hoping by Monday to have some folks done. We had some computer glitches with entering data, so we are almost there. And to also have all of our power goals. So a power goal really ties in great with our Leader in Me curriculum as well, because Leader in Me has this notion of a wildly important goal to help me improve. And so we've taken what we know about Leader in Me and we've connected it with the information that we are setting goals with students so that they are clear on what they're working on when they do have time to read on their own. The trajectory map is really, like I said, for K-8. Teachers in particular partnerships with the ARC Core trainers right now who are in the first year of implementation. So if you remember our implementation plan, we have some folks implementing right now while we build documents, and then next year it will be full implementation with all staff K-8 who teach literacy. So we are working right now to help everyone ground themselves in the best practices for literacy, ensure that students are leveled in school pace, like I said, and we're going to be regularly monitoring student growth in the school pace through the IRLA framework, which is the independent leveled reading assessment that we've been using with students. On top of that, we use our iReady benchmark data, which is an independent assessment. So in school pace, we're taking some formative assessment, we're looking at kids, we're sitting with them, we're talking to them about their reading, and we're really observing what we see. Then we give them an opportunity to perform independently. So those two pieces of information really give us a more comprehensive look at our students, and we're able to monitor those data points over time. School pace is nice because we don't have to wait 3 months to give another assessment. That's something we can do at any point in time, and it helps us progress monitor our students along the way. So we use that to identify what areas of reading, and the nice part about our core is that there's a strong connection to the writing, and that is what we're using now to guide our instruction with writing as well. So there's this idea of decoding words, right, where you're going to sound them out, and then there's the idea of encoding words. How do I sound out to then put it on paper so I can communicate to others my thinking? And so both of that is really nicely threaded through this our core program at the K-2 level, hoping to provide productive struggle for all of our students, right? So professional learning. So right now with our core, we have a series of site visits, and this is like my favorite part of our core as a company and as a mindset. They're not going to just give you the program and say, have at it. Do you guys want us to come in and do some PD? They're actually like, hey, you bought our program. You also bought this many days of professional development by building. So in each building, there are minimally 6 days of professional development for every teacher that's participating in this program, and it doesn't come from me, it comes from the company, who works with teachers across the state and across the nation, some of them. The other thing that's been fabulous about meeting all the coaches that they've been sending is that every single one of them has taught the grade levels that they have been coaching. So they really are very intentional about who they send you to coach and the type of coaching that happens based on what the teachers are experienced in doing. And I've got to say, we have been in many buildings over the last week and a half, Julie and Val and I, and it's been awesome to see the excitement and to listen to the struggles, right? So if people are going to just pretend it's fun, that's not going to be helpful to us either. So we need all that honest data about like what is a struggle for you right now and how can we make that better for you and how can we make that better going forward for the teachers who will be doing the implementation next year. So in our site visits right now, we are prioritizing this idea of that literacy lab. So you used to hear it called the ERLA block. It's the literacy lab now. And so in that literacy lab, we have pacing guides that also help us research those best practices and make sure that we are aligned with the science of reading and what those recommendations are. And the nice part about ArtCore is it's simply threaded through, so it makes the day really tied together and not so siloed like it's been for us. The K2 visits have focused on pacing guidelines and really looking at that lit lab. And at the K2 level in particular, that morning message is really an important component. Utilizing the framework to identify those baseline levels like we have done in the past and the writing. And the great component is if people are struggling initially, we're in there right away. So we're going to be through all of our schools by the within the next 2 weeks. We'll be through everyone one time. And if there has been some missteps or some folks who haven't really fully understood, we're getting in right away and answering questions and we're helping them make those adjustments to get right back on track. So we've had some really great conversations. I am now, I think, I'm going to turn it over to Julie so she can talk a little bit more.
Good evening, everyone. So inquiry through apprenticeship is a key foundational structure within American Reading Company. The power behind this is that the learning is focused on the how and the why, while students are having an opportunity to build that conceptual understanding, learn from the disciplinary expert, either in their classroom or beyond, and then apply what they've learned. So students truly have a clear focus. They set goals, just like in the literacy lab, like Suzanne was talking about. They receive that immediate feedback, the continuous feedback about their progress as well. And then within our core, we truly are looking as students as through that inquiry lens so that they have the opportunity to be active learners right alongside their teacher and have the opportunity to problem solve, persevere, and collaborate with their peers. So this is a key focus area for us as we move through this first year of developing and then as we move forward into full implementation next year. So more to come on that. American Reading Company for years has been grounded in the most current research and are continuously updating their resources to support current research. And as we know, phonemic awareness is a true priority for all of our learners, especially our early learners. And as Suzanne mentioned, the National Reading Panel report has been the foundational practice that we're looking at, that we're looking through the lens of because we know that the research is there. So through that meta-analysis, they did find that the findings show that children, when they learn to manipulate those phonemes, so that is the strong component within there that we have within our framework, and we'll be focusing in on more as we go forward in phonemic awareness. You can see some of the research in there, just a few snippets, but we know that systematic and explicit instruction in the phonological awareness and that phonemic awareness instruction are critical as students learn to read. So our pre-K students, our kindergarten students and above are all learning ways that they can identify, they can manipulate, and they can practice with it that oral language structure, not only at the word level, the syllable level, but those parts and words. And that's a key component of the ARC framework that we'll be focusing in with teachers this year as we go forward. The team involved in our curriculum review cycle did see this as an area of growth for our teachers. And we know that we do need to build capacity in this area, as we did have a gap in our previous curriculum, curricular resources. And ARC, like I said, does address phonemic awareness, phonological awareness also in the instruction, and we will continue to partner using the Haggerty resources that our language development specialists are using with all of our pre-K and kindergarten students on a daily basis. So a little bit more on the research with phonics and writing from the National Reading Panel report, you'll see that the manipulating phonemes is still there. As Suzanne mentioned, American Reading Company has a very strong connection between phonemic awareness, phonics, and writing. So when students hear it, they see it, and they write it. And that's what we're training our teachers in, and that's what we're training our students in, so that they truly learn those foundational practices of how to read. And again, as we know, systematic phonics instruction, we need it to be developmentally appropriate. So you'll see some of those fun, play-based, developmentally appropriate ways within our classroom structures and through American Reading Company. Many of you know about Aries orthographic mapping. So those principles are deep within the American Reading Company framework, and we're focusing in with teachers on that and how to learn those best practices so that students can connect the sounds that they hear, what they see on the page, and then they can write it as well. And like I said, orthographic mapping is a foundational component of the American Reading Company core program. We know that the reciprocity between reading and writing is critical. Within our ARC core framework, there is a clear connection between all of these components. And students need that strong foundation of the alphabetic principle in order to be able to spell correctly. And we know that they need to be able to hear it and write it, like I had said. And writing was identified as an area of need throughout our Curriculum Review Council. And we know that we listened to that from families, from teachers, and within our surveys, parents reported concerns over spelling. So these are key components as we go through this developing year and areas of focus for us going forward. So what's new in K2? As I mentioned, phonemic awareness and phonological awareness are key foundational practices that are in our core that we know we need to make more robust within our curriculum for our students. And over the last several years, reading specialists have anchored into the research and the instructional practices of David Kilpatrick. Language development specialists have provided multiple phonological and phonemic awareness trainings sessions for teachers over this last school year, and will continue to do that in order for teachers to learn the Haggerty resources and make that direct connection between our core curriculum and that foundational practice that we know is critical for kids. As I mentioned, language development specialists through our core and through that WIN block will continue to push into all pre-K and kindergarten classrooms for daily phonemic awareness. Within our K2 framework, we do have some updated assessments. So these assessments align with the developmentally appropriate practices and provide data to inform the instructional decisions. That's a key part of our ARC framework, and our coaches are sharing that with teachers during our site visits. This is a framework based upon what our students need, and then targeting the instructional practices to align with that. So the number of sight words within our assessment has also changed a bit, so teachers get a better understanding of the integrated processes that students use to learn to read. And as I mentioned in regards to writing, as we work to improve decoding skills for our students, this is an area of focus as we work on encoding skills in writing. We will be focusing on the consistency at our earliest levels with the ARC developmental sequence for letter sounds, and then the Kinsey writing scale will be a focus as we begin to look at student work in writing. So this scale provides concrete examples of the development of writing over time, and it's actually a pre-K through 2, so looking at how we can build vertical alignment from across all of those grade levels when we look at writing, have those conversations with teams, and share about student progress. This will provide us with common language as we look, again, vertically to align our writing practices, and this was the #1 area that our committee identified during the research and recommendation year for an area of focus.
So look fors. So Julie and I will be meeting with the principals actually tomorrow who have implementation happening in their building. And so what we're going to take them through is really going into that school page dashboard so that they can familiarize themselves with it if they're not already, to be able to look at the data themselves when we're not there to support them. We also have some other structures in place with our district interventionists to be able to support monthly with principals looking at their data. But we thought taking some time to come together and kind of compare practices that are going on across the district would be helpful and a supportive way for our principals to really support each other in the work. The look-fors that you're seeing up here are really to help teachers plan. So they're not gotchas, right? So in the past, maybe there was this, like if I came in and I was looking for something, it might be because I want to catch you doing or not doing something. This is really intended to be a structural way to help teachers plan and think about the different components that we'd want them to include in their lessons or their sessions for kids. And what the company is helping us do with the coaching that we're receiving right now is really identifying what those main things are, where we need to be tight, and what are some of the things that are kind of more of a choice board for teachers to supplement and complement and differentiate the instruction for their Tier 1 students. So again, we'll be working with leaders to understand best practices in literacy engage in the professional learning with teachers, and we already have had that. Our principals have been amazing. They're in many of the meetings that we're having with the coaches. They're coming into the classrooms with us. They're active learners, and they're asking questions right alongside the teachers. We're all able to learn from district office on down together. And the teachers have been wonderful about letting us in their classrooms to just see what's going on and to watch them deliver lessons in some cases even. Hopefully, what you'll see by the end is that we'll be able to clearly articulate where our kids are with more things that are easier for the kids to understand and things that are easier for us to talk about cohesively across the district. We're also going to be, like I said, comparing that with our iReady data to just see how kids are independently performing when we're not there to have the conversation with them. And we will be following some of these, looking at student work protocols, not only with teachers during their PLC sessions with the coaches, but we'll also be doing some of that with our leaders across the year as well. So we have 4 different administrative meetings that will be coming together to do that work, and tomorrow's our first one. So Julie and I are really looking forward to that. As you know, this was a pilot last year, and we thought we would end with this quote from one of our teachers who participated in the pilot last year and was able to see this all the way through from beginning year to the end of the year. And I think that we picked this because it emphasizes not only are we supporting our students who struggle that we talk so much about, but we're also providing enrichment for our students who can. And I think that's a big shift. When we already have levels in our classroom, the tendency is to kind of lean to the middle and kind of teach to the middle and make sure that we're moving kids forward, but just enough to make sure they're still on grade level. And that does not really happen in this. You're not really allowed to do that. We have to take a good look. And one of the dashboards that we look at is like, who are our students who are on grade level and what growth are they making? And are they projected to continue that growth and continue above grade level for the upcoming year? So we're really taking a harder look at all of our students more comprehensively, and we're really excited to have that go on for all of our students. Questions?
Questions? Mr. Maloney?
I guess I want to know what the non-negotiables of the art core curriculum, what are they? Is it the framework? Is
Yeah.
it,
So
that's non-negotiable?
Yep, so they have a framework, and basically within the framework, there's like a menu of choices. So if
Right.
my kids need this, I can use this part. But there are components of the framework. So the one is reading. So you're going to read. Right now at the K2 level, we're talking about kids who are getting read-alouds. So the read-aloud is a non-negotiable. You're going to do that every day. You're going to also have a really intentional morning message where we're going to enfold into that morning message. We are going to fold in some of the phonemic awareness we warm up with. Then it's going to be in the message. And then as I put the message up, I'm going to have you help me co-create the message, right? I'm going to say, Todd, you know the word this. We worked on that yesterday together. Can you come up and start our message with that first word? And then I might say, you know what? Today's day is what? And someone tells me, and I say, you know what? Sean, you worked on forming that letter T. Come on up. You write the letter T for me. And you have other kids who are sitting, you know, so like then you're like, okay, you don't want everyone rolling on the carpet, right? So we have kids saying, okay, write the T on your hand while you're watching. And look, did it match what you think you wrote on your hand? You know, or talk to your friend about how you think the word this should be spelled, right? And then for our kids who are more advanced, we also have like dear cartographers at the top. So our kindergarten kids right now are being cartographers. They're making maps. For my advanced kids, I can say, do you see a word in that word you know? The word car for little kids is typically something that they can pick out. And you can also get into syllabication with words like that. So there's a variety of things that they kind of anchor into that morning message, making it different than what we've done and really intentional. So I'm not picking my names out of a can of fairness. I'm really attaching the learning to what I know about you as a learner, and I'm intentionally calling you up because you and I know you're working on that. So there's that component to it. So there's the reading, there's the phonics, then it threads right into the writing, and the kids do some practice with writing and sharing that out. And the texts that they're reading are used as mentor texts. So if I'm going to be working on punctuation, I would say, wow, look at that punctuation mark at the end of that sentence when I'm reading my book. Let's go back as writers. Let's try to use that punctuation when we're writing. So there's all different kinds of ways. But that reading, the writing, the independent practice of writing, or of reading, is still going to continue so that kids have that opportunity to transfer what they're learning into a time on their own. So a lot of times what we tend to do, like what I'm doing right now, you talk too much, right? And the kids don't get any space to read. So you just have to like let them read and practice those skills. So all those things are the non-negotiables.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I didn't expect such a lengthy answer, but yeah.
You
You
lost
probably
him at the first
Don't
sentence.
ask a question.
A simple yes or no
I'm
would have been
teasing.
fine
I'm
with the framework.
I'm sorry, I am a talker, you know that about me. You're lucky I'm not crying. Look at me, I've like really grown over time.
Mr. Butler?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. It's really exciting. And I think I'd love to hear you, and you talked about this at a number of different spots, but your thoughts on how we're going to know if it's working. So what are the ways that we're going to be able to look at this and know even, as we're in the midst of it and as it, we get closer to halfway through the year and all the way through the year, how are we going to know if it's having the impact we hope it has?
Sure, so outside of the normal data collection that we do, I'll talk a little bit more about the coaching sessions that we're having. Because if I'm coming into your class 6 times during the year, I'm going to get a really good feel for what you're like as a teacher and how it's feeling for you. We're going to be able to have those intimate conversations. We're going to be able to support you immediately. And I think principals are also doing a great job of learning about this, putting it in place, and checking with their teachers as well. So we'll have the numbers data like we do, but I think we're also going to have more conversations just around the research, around the why we're doing what we're doing, and I think we'll be able to do more check-ins like that are kind of like the softer check-ins, but I think that's the stuff that we were missing previously.
So can I follow up? Sure. Would you say that the data that we have been tracking over the years, the normal, is well aligned with, because sometimes when you do different things, you need to measure different things?
Yes. What I would say is the writing is going to be the biggest component that we're adding in. So the writing, that Kinsey scale, especially for our K2 kids, is a huge deal. Because at the K2 level, we don't have a state rubric, right? 3 through 8 we do, but we don't at the kindergarten through 2nd grade level. I think this is going to give some meat to our conversations and feedback that we give to kids, and that will follow up much better. And that consistency with that writing block connected to everything, I think, is also going to help propel our students. So eventually, I would love to say that our state test scores would go up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Bonagario?
Just for a little more clarity on Mr. Butler's question.
Sure.
Will iReady, if I've got the right one, is that going to be our main data tracking tool?
So there's several data tracking tools that we use, right? So there'll be the writing rubrics, there'll be the school pace that we've used, and then there will be iReady as well. And the iReady is just that independent computer one.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Traywick?
Hi, great presentation. So my question is really like around my own personal situation. Hopefully it'll illuminate things for others as well. So I have a pre-K student, and so currently she can write her name, she can write simple words. But what I've recently noticed is that when we look at other words that contain the same letters, she can't sound out the letters, so even though she can write these words, and we were all like, oh my gosh, she can write her name and she can write this, there is no awareness, which is what you talked about. Right. So my question is, what happens when she enters the ELC next year? Is she going to be behind the ball because she has this understanding of, she'll have a list, the school she's at, they boast to us, oh, she'll know 10 words, she'll be able to write them. And we were like, ooh-wee. But now I'm listening to you, and she's not getting the foundation that she really needs. So where will she fall next year?
So what she'll do is she'll enter like most kids do, and she'll just need that orthographic mapping. And you can start that now at home through rhyming games, nursery rhymes. You can play a word game. If you think about the old electric company, you could say air, chair. Okay, if I take off the ch and I put on a puh, what are we going to have? And that's a lot of that playful language that's the Haggerty. So the Haggerty that you keep hearing about that we're doing in pre-K with our language development teachers, it's every day, and it's just that rhythm and habit of doing it. It's amazing how quickly kids pick up on it once you make it in that playful fashion. So, yeah, we'll continue that.
Mr. Bonagario?
First off, I want to just say, you take as long as you want when everything that, the mapping out of the series of updates, I just think, I'm really excited about that. So thank you for all of that. I want to follow up on Dr. Traywick's question here, because I'm thinking of it even beyond those early years. And I know I've asked this question before, and I will probably ask it every time we engage in this. But maybe you're going to deal with it as you go into the later series here. But how do we make sure we keep the older kids who missed this
Sure.
on track?
Sure. So there, because of the assessments and the way that the ERLA framework is designed and the updates that they've put in, there are opportunities for them to get that. And then we also have like our intervention plans, right? We have other blocks built in the day during our win time where kids might get additional instruction. You and I have talked about Orton Gillingham. So we have almost all of our reading specialists, except for our new ones, trained in Orton Gillingham now approach. And they have access to all of that. So if a student is missing, say phonemic awareness, for example, we have a lot of our reading specialists who have taken the Haggerty instruction from our language development teachers, and they just upscale it for our kids who are a little bit older, and they do the same sorts of activities to help fill those gaps for the students. And truly, if it's a gap here, for some kids just can't hear that, and they still learn how to read, and they still comprehend, and they still get vocabulary, right? But for some of our kids, we really have to get them to hear that to help them move over that hump. So we really try to look at individual cases and then just provide the interventions that make the most sense for them.
Thank you.
So you can keep asking that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Bonagario?
Thanks. I do have a couple other questions. So one of the non-negotiables, I hope, is, and I'm hearing you speak to it, equipping our teachers, making sure, I know that not all of them have this background, and it will be challenging, but I just want to make sure,
Yes.
I just want to emphasize
Sure.
100%
Sure.
in line with that. So critical that we can all do this together.
Yes.
So I'm really glad to hear that. And I guess that wasn't really a question, but but it's great to hear. And I do want to say I was in at Arcadia Middle School today, walked in and saw the boxes, so I was really excited about that too. Do you have any other comment on that, maybe to elaborate?
The only thing I could add to that is like our professional development throughout this year to prepare folks who are not implementing this year. We have 3 different sessions for our K-5 teachers, really trying to focus on those foundational skills. 6-8, we're working through like some scheduling things, and so we'll be doing that a little bit later in the year. But then we have 2 full days of professional development for our K-2 teachers and a full K-8 day on the superintendent's conference day on May 21st plan. So we're still trying to line up coaches and figure out what the logistics of that will look like, but that will be the training that everyone gets, and we will be anchoring them into things like, there's a big bunch of junk at the beginning of a TE that teachers sometimes don't have time to really dig into. And that's what we're really focusing on now, so that the teachers will have a good foundation around the research and best practices and the non-negotiables that are in the program.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One more?
All right, let Dr. Jarrett go.
Please,
I'll
yeah.
come back to you.
So I have another question regarding students who English isn't their first language. So how will this roll out for them?
This is such a great question. So on October 18th, we have the amazing benefit of having, it's called an MLL guide. So it's to support our second language learners. And our teachers who are NL teachers across the district will be trained in that on the 18th in the morning session. Their afternoon session will be acclimating them to the Tier 1 resources, and then they'll be involved with all of our training as well. The other thing, and you'll learn more about this next month, is this entire program also comes in Spanish. And as we look to enroll our bilingual program next year at English Village, everything that we've dug into, and that includes our iReady resources even for math and Leader in Me, those all come in Spanish as well. And so Shauna and I are working really closely to put together a cohesive program so that the resources are the same for the teachers and the students as they learn second languages.
Mr. Bonagario?
It'll be my last one for this anyway. You started off referencing our strategic plan and that we're going to incorporate culturally authentic learning through this. And then, maybe can you just give me a flavor of what that looks like in the context of the art program?
So I just think what we're doing is we're updating our collections to reflect our students in our district, right? So we have more culturally diverse texts so that when a student is looking for something, they can see themselves in the books like we've talked about before.
Is that incorporated into the program
Yes.
itself, or coming right from ARC?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else?
Could I just add on to that piece real quick? So there's that around the resources, excuse me, but then it's the professional development that's happening too. So when we say that it's a focus, I just want to be like so clear, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Tomorrow at the principal meeting, at the elementary principal meeting, Suzanne and Julie are going to be coming, as they spoke about earlier. And when we say like this is a priority, there was something that the Gina needed to share with the principals, like HR related. And actually before the meeting, I said to Gina, you know, I know you really want to, update the principals on this. Is it going to wait till next week? Because literacy is our priority and the whole time needs to be spent on literacy. So something as simple as that. Also with our elementary principal group, like we've talked about when we have our meetings, the first thing on the agenda is literacy update. So that is constantly, when we talk about professional learning, collaboration, reflection, communication, like what do people need? And how are we all, Kathy charges us to be better together. Like how are we all really supporting this? So we just want to thank you, Board of Education also, for getting behind this and the support that we have. So I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, moving on to 6.01, the budget calendar. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Butler, seconded by Mr. Maloney. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. 6.02, acceptance of the 22-23 audited financial statements. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, seconded by Mr. Butler. Would you like to make a comment or no?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I want to first give a shout out to our former audit committee chair and former board member, John Swicky. I certainly won't have his style, but here goes. The audit committee convened yesterday on Monday, October 2nd, to review several items, namely those appearing on tonight's agenda pending approval. The committee attendees included myself, board members Todd Butler and Megan Farah, as well as district administrators and community members. To begin, Tom Zuber of Mangel, Metzger, Barr and Company reviewed the financial summary and an internal audit report for 22-23, stating there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Only a few recommendations were made in the areas of managing excess school lunch program funds and physical inventory documentation of IT assets. Overall, it was noted that the district continues to have sound, conservative judgment considering historical and current use, as well as future plans for district funds. Also reviewed was the corrective action plan, where several items were moved to completed status for the transportation department, with several others pertaining to internal staffing processes being updated with more realistic target dates in order to allow for further review and feedback. Additionally, an update was made to our audit committee charter to provide written audit committee meeting minutes to board members going forward instead of just a verbal summary, so you may not have to always listen to me. With all points in mind, the Audit Committee recommends approval of items 6.02, 6.03, and 6.04 of the agenda, which includes the audited financial statements for 22-23, the management letter responses for the internal audit, and the updated Audit Committee charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores, and we will continue to hear from you. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to 6.03, acceptance of the 22-23 communications regarding the internal control related matters in the audit. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Laura, second by Ms. Flores. Comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to 6.04, the Audit Committee Charter Approval. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, second by Mr. Butler. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. Moving on to 6.05, change orders. Can I have somebody move those to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Dr. Trawick. Any comments, questions, or concerns on those? I'm just going to state all the change orders put together account for $81,426. With that, all those in favor of the change orders? That passes 8-0. Moving on to the updated yearly appointment. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, seconded by Mr. Butler. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 8-0. Can I have somebody move the partial settlement of the vaping litigation to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Laura, seconded by Mr. Maloney. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor? That passes 7-1. Dr. Trewick votes no. 6.08, extra classroom activity funds quarterly report. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, seconded by Mr. Butler. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 8-0. 7.01, budget and revenue status report. It's written information only. Does anybody have any question? All right, moving on to the consent. Can I have somebody move the consent agenda to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flores, second by Mr. Maloney. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would just like to thank Dick Evans, who donated a Yamaha flute from his wife Linda Evans, who was a former music teacher in Greece Central. And I'd like to thank Jazz WGMC for the water bottles they donated for the back-to-school bash. It was much appreciated. With that, all those in favor? That passes 8-0. Moving on to 9.01, student trip approval. Can I have that moved to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Moore, seconded by Dr. Trewick. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Ms. Vera?
Just a quick comment. I was going through the itinerary, and I noticed we have a game at 7 o'clock and 1 o'clock on the weekend that they're going. It doesn't say against Saranac or Northeastern Clinton. It says beat. Go get them.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all is in favor? That passes 8-0. Moving on to 9.02. Can I somebody move the District Safety Committee members update to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Butler, seconded by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor? That passes 8-0. All right, I'm going to call a public hearing for the Discovery Charter School to order. I have nobody signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of the Discovery Charter School? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for the Discovery Charter School, and we'll move to the Discovery Charter School renewal approval. Can I have someone move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Dr. Trewick. All those in favor? Those opposed? That passes 5-3. Moving on to the Renaissance Charter School Arts public hearing, I have two speakers. The first one is Kate Lovery. Lori, I'm sorry. Ms. Lori, can I have you come to this podium? Sorry, I should have said that beforehand. I apologize. Welcome this evening.
My name is Kate Laurie. I'm the Chief Educational Officer at Renaissance Academy Charter School of the Arts, which is located here in Greece in the old Kirk Road Elementary building. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Greece Central School District for partnering with us over the last 9 years. As a charter school, we rely on your school district to partner with us in areas such as transportation, library funds, textbook funds. All the staff at Greece who I've worked with over the last 9 years have been great at communicating and open to working together. We value our relationship and look forward to continuing to work together towards the common goal of providing today's youth with an education that will prepare them to be our community's future. Thank you for your consideration in approving our charter school renewal. We also welcome you to come visit our school anytime to see what we do and learn about our program if you are interested to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Next speaker is Lise Ortiz. Liz, I'm sorry. I can't read. Over here. Yes, please.
Good evening, everybody. I am Liz Ortiz, and I am a parent of 3 kiddos who go to Renaissance Academy. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to brag on the school because we love it, our kids love it, and the only thing that they don't love is the long bus ride. But hey, doesn't matter. But what I wanted to say is that Renaissance Academy is literally family. When we went there initially for our first little guy, we walked in, we took a tour of the school, and it was during COVID, and it was kind of crazy, but we were so welcomed and were able to meet some teachers and just connect with people, and immediately we felt like it was family. And it has stayed that way, and we have been really so pleased about that. They do social emotional learning with the kids, restorative practices, which my kids love, and they use them at home as well. they are also able to learn at their own levels. So my little guy, he's great with writing and with reading, and so he's able to go and learn what he needs to learn at the timing that he needs to learn it. And they also are very helpful with helping my children be able to advocate for themselves, because that's really important to me. And so they work with my kids to be able to advocate for themselves as we work with them at home to do the same. And when I call the teachers, I get a phone call right away. Or if I text them, I will get a phone call right away, and I can come in and I can share, and they can help me to get what I need for my kids ASAP. So I love that, and the collaboration of teachers and staff and students with our families is amazing. And I just really wanted to brag on our school, because I think it's amazing, and I would love just to have my kids continue with Renaissance Academy. So thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. I have no other speakers. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to address the board in regards to Renaissance Charter Academy? Seeing none, I will close the hearing for the public hearing for Renaissance Charter. So can I have somebody move to the table the resolution in regards to the approval of the charter school renewal for the Renaissance Academy Charter School of the Arts from 7/1/24 to 6/30/29? So I move that to the table, please. Moved by Ms. Farah, seconded by Mr. Maloney. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all is in favor? 5, those opposed? Passes 5-3. All right, moving on to board member comments. Does anybody have any board member comments? Dr. Trewick?
Okay, good evening. First, I wanted to just take a moment, and I voted no against the vape partial settlement, and I voted no because I feel like vaping is killing our children. I understand the logistics of, why we didn't pursue it, but personally, I just felt like we needed to send a message that, we're not accepting pennies for our children's lives, personally. Second, I voted no on the Renaissance Charter, and I did that because if you don't show up for the hearing, then it shows me that this isn't important to you. Not Renaissance, I'm sorry. They're like, wait a minute, we're here, we're in the room. Not the other one. Okay, sorry, guys. And then two more things. I had the opportunity of attending a community meeting on Saturday to discuss, our children and why children are being so violent and how do we stop the violence in the community. And I just wanted to share a little bit with you guys because it was really insightful for me. There were leaders from all over, and people talked about things like, well, the parents need to be held more accountable, schools need to be held more accountable, churches need to be held more accountable, literally any institution, the criminal justice system, all this stuff. And, everyone had a point to, when they were bringing up different institutions, everyone had good evidence and backup. But what my takeaway from that meeting was, and the reason I'm sharing it today, is because one of the things I realized is that out of all the institutions that were listed, the one that seemed to me the best positioned to partner with parents around these issues were schools. And so, and again, this is my individual comment, but I'm bringing this up because I think it's important for us as school districts and parents and children to know that we are the best partners in this fight against anything that's coming against our kids. We have, as a district, we have eyes on the kids way more than some of the parents do. And as parents, as a district, we have also put so many things in place to support families. So I just wanted to share that and share the idea of partnership. We can't go into a family and rebuild a family. But what we can do is we can come to a school and we can help make sure that our teachers are partners with us. We can help make sure our kids show up to school. You know, we don't talk about things like attendance. President McCabe talked about that at one of our last meetings. We need our kids to show up. We need our teachers to show up. And if there are issues around that, then we need people to bring them to the table so that we can address them. Because we can have all the great programs in the world, world-class programs, but if kids aren't showing up, if parents in schools aren't working together, then we're not going to be able to make the impact we need to make. And so I just wanted to just throw that out there, because when I threw it out there at the meeting, people kept saying, oh, you know, we'll just fine the parents $1,000. Just fine the parents and make them accountable. But we have our community school staff here. And a lot of our parents, where our kids are in trouble, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, do they have $1,000? Is that going to change the behavior? $1,000 fine, is that going to make a parent get their kid to school? So I'm going to stop here. The takeaway from that, please, is we are asking you to be partners with us. Let's utilize this system in a way that helps our kids, deals with their mental health issues as well as other issues. Okay, fine. So that part. Lastly, I have a meeting tomorrow to go over to one of my home schools. So Val, I'm going to be going over to Holmes Road because I'm the liaison for that school. But I'm going to reschedule because my meeting is at 12:30 and your principal's meeting is at 1 o'clock. And you have already told Gina that she cannot disrupt your principal's being ready for that meeting. So I'm going to happily reschedule and find time in my schedule to go another time because I value what you guys are going to do tomorrow. So I will do that. And then last but not least, in terms of the folks that come to the microphone every week or every time we have residents forum and speak, thank you so much. You may not agree with what I'm saying. I may not agree with what you're saying, but the most important thing is that we continue to talk to each other. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Traywick. Mr. Maloney.
Well, this goes out actually to all seniors. This is the beginning of financial aid month, October. Make sure you fill out the forms and get it in and get your money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. Mr. Bonagario.
Thank you. I'll start off with an event that I attended last Tuesday. I attended the two culture climate committees, and it was a full day. I was really, really impressed to see, it was probably the first time I attended one of these committees where it was a lot of live action decision-making going on, and I was really impressed to see the engagement in all partners at that. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. So thanks for that opportunity, and I look forward to participating down the road as well. Mr. Stenzel brought to the table a couple of times a suggestion to have, I guess he's calling it a town hall. A few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, a different group of people were coming to the board with comments and questions, and some frustration that there's not a rapport. I get it. I understand why we can't have a rapport here. But one of the board members, my friend Tracy Farmer, who we're all sharing sympathy with her and her loss this week, but she stepped up and she offered to participate in dialogue with community members who are interested in doing that. And she brought that up to me a while back, I think back in the winter, and I'd like to propose that to my fellow board members. I did mention it to a few of them as an opportunity to engage the community. I understand that we can't have a quorum, so no more than 4 of us, and perhaps there's an opportunity to rotate for any members who are interested, but I think it might be a nice opportunity on a regular basis, maybe monthly, we can figure that all out, but I think that would be, I'd be happy to make myself available to any community members, parents, teachers, taxpayers, whoever would be interested to engage in some dialogue. So I'm just going to put that out there, and I'd love to follow up with my board colleagues. Thanks.
Mr. Butler?
Thank you. So this is actually Banned Book Week, if you hadn't heard. So I want to give a shout out to our professional librarians, our library media specialists, their title we heard in our earlier session, and really want to thank them for their work to support student learning and development. You know, childhood and adolescence is a time for all of us to figure out the world and our place in it. And it's so important that every student has the opportunity to see themselves reflected in the materials in our libraries. So thank you to all of those who work every day to select and connect students to age-appropriate materials that help them to grow, develop, and feel seen in our schools. Just a second one, I left to use the restroom a minute ago, and our earlier speaker had filled the restroom with Mary Poppins promotional materials. And so my kids used to volunteer when they lived in town for Artists Unlimited. It's a great program, and he is right. You should bring Kleenex if you haven't been to the show before. But it's amazing what this group of volunteers and actors and singers and dancers can come up with. So I encourage you to mark your calendar for November 3rd and 5th and 10th and 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Ms. Flores?
I wanted to start out by thanking those who represent the Greece Central School District in any capacity. We've finished almost our first full month of school. And I think sometimes we place a lot of emphasis on the anxieties and things that our kids are going through as they change and move into their new grades and do their new thing and meet new friends and do all of that. Our staff goes through the same thing. In the first couple weeks of school, it can be really hard to meet their new students and do some changes. And we're constantly changing things in the district to update the curriculum and do all of those things. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the staff that represents the district and say thank you, because it's not an easy job to do. And a lot of us don't have easy jobs. But I'm really thankful that people step up to be part of this district, to teach my kids and to do all of the things that are needed. So thank you. I also wanted to say I had the privilege of visiting one of my liaison schools, English Village, and got to meet with Principal Jason Lewis and Stacy Remillard and Katie Cooper from Community Schools. I really, in thinking and listening to everything that we hear in the meeting that we just had, so much of what is done, the literacy, the things that Dr. Trawick talked about meeting with parents and getting involvement. Our speakers, Justin Stenzel, I would like to get some community members together to have that discussion. Community schools and the team that is involved with that just touches so much of that. And they have the privilege of being able to talk to parents. We have a huge population of parents who I would call the status quo. I was the status quo for a really long time. And I kind of, as long as nothing major was going on, I just didn't have time to deal with stuff, and I let it go on in a status quo. I'd read things when I had time, I'd do whatever. They have the ability to reach out and listen to a variety of parents who do not normally speak in other venues. They hear the things that are going on. They hear the needs that have to happen in order for kids to be prepared to come to school to learn. So I really just wanted to say thank you for the team that came out for community schools. You guys continue to be amazing. You reach outside of the box in so many different ways to enable our kids to come to this school and find their best way to learn, which looks different for every single student. So thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. And I can't believe I'm starting my third year on the board, and I'm shocked at how much has changed. And I don't know that shocked is the right word, but I'm proud and I'm honored and I'm privileged to work with a district to watch that community schools grow in the reach that we're able to do and the different programs that we're able to provide because of what is being worked on and the time and the commitment and the passion that is behind that in order to give our kids a different chance and not just sending them to school to say, you go to school to learn, figure it out. It's not that simple. So thank you very much to everybody. Thank you.
Vice President Laura?
First of all, I had the opportunity to go to my liaison school, Lake Shore, last week, and guess what? It was reading time. And I love what I heard today, but, excuse me, to walk into those classrooms and see the students so engaged, helping each other, some working with the teacher, some working with an aide, it just warmed my heart that to see the program in progress is fabulous. I want to say that there's sports going on all over the place and the weather's been great. Please get out this week while we can and support our students at all the schools. It's fabulous to see them out, and we've got homecomings and lots of stuff going on, and the marching band will be coming soon. I want to recognize Rob Linton, who is the station manager for Jazz 90.1, for receiving an award from the New York State Broadcasters. We're going to talk a little bit more about this channel, this Jazz channel next month as they celebrate a big anniversary. We're so fortunate to have a radio station. And finally, a silly thing, I happened to be in a training where people were learning cognitive coaching. And I want the community to understand that teachers spend a lot of time learning during their career. And this was a program where they were going to spend a couple days learning how to be better teachers. And I want the community to understand that that's part of being a teacher, is learning. So everybody else have a great school year and get to a sporting event.
Thanks, Vice President Laura. All right, I'll roll into my comments. A couple things. I had a great visit at the Phoenix Academy 2 weeks ago. It was my liaison school. It was absolutely amazing to see what our young people are doing at Phoenix and how engaged they are. It was truly enjoyable. That's my first time ever being a liaison there. I did some, in my past life, I did some presentations there with the fire department, but it was the first time to go through there as a board member, and I love what they're able to do at Phoenix and how they have the kids engaged. I also had a visit to Olympia. Brandon brings a lot of energy to that building. I gotta say, it was a pleasure. I had a great meeting with him, and then we did a tour and we talked about it. And his team there, they're all so engaged. Brandon's gonna do amazing things at Olympia. He's a great hire. I mean, it was great to see him with his personality going in every boy's bathroom. Mr. Jones is coming in, and he would go in and flag everybody out of the bathroom. It was good to see. So I got to give a shout out to Brandon. I'm very proud of, I think, the high school principal he's going to become. I can't say it as well as my colleague, Ms. Flores, but the community schools people, you guys do an amazing job. I'm so proud of what that early learning center and our community schools are doing. The impact you guys are having in this community is thoroughly amazing. I want to remind all my colleagues, you have homework, you have a book that you're supposed to be reading for our next meeting. I finished that book over the weekend, and it was a great read, and there's so many parts of that we're not doing. I know Dr. Payne knows I'm a big health clinic guy. I really want to push that health clinic and figure out a way how we can do that, find some partners, whether it's the University of Rochester, Rochester Regional, to come in and make that. And now I can't get sappy here. It's my friend Steve Chatterton's last meeting with us. He's been our Director of Safety and Security my entire time as board president. I've known Steve for going back to the 80s. We were both at Olympia together. He's a true friend. I'm going to miss him. I'd like to wish him well in all he does moving forward. He's been a great resource for me. He's probably the only person in the school district that's ever yelled at me, and he's done it a couple times. But we've had some good conversations over the years. He's been a source, a sounding board for me. He's a true friend. I'm truly going to miss you. I wish you nothing but the best. And I'd like everybody in the room to stand up and give him a round of applause. Don't spend too much time in the sun, you'll burn your bald spot. And with that, Superintendent Groutman.
I would like to just mention a couple of things. I was, just actually got back late this afternoon from Saratoga, where there was a state conference. So we do 2 conferences a year where superintendents from all over the state come, and oftentimes bring team members. So there's a couple thousand people. What's nice about that there's work that we do because we serve on state committees in different capacities. So some of the time is spent in committee work, whether that be some of it's curriculum work, some of it's committees on wellness. There's all different committees. But what was great about the conference is not only did I get to go and spend time on my committees, but I also got to do some new learning and also do some advocacy. So there was a lot of great sessions and a lot of great work being talked about related to the EV bus mandate, a lot of things being talked about relative to attendance. President McCabe would have been happy about that. And advocacy around teacher certification and things that are really connected to the teacher shortage. So some of the things that you don't hear us talk about a lot really do need to be on the forefront and talked about and really pushed at the state level. So it was a very, very productive couple days, and it was also a little fun. Which we had a really good time. But the other thing that I thought was interesting, and I think this is just a shout out to our Board of Education, is I was talking to a newer superintendent and there was actually a group of superintendents around from different areas of the state, and they were talking about their board meetings. And many of us are coming back today driving to get to our board meetings. And a couple of them talked about the fact that their boards don't like presentations, and their boards don't sit on committees, and their boards don't serve as liaisons in any way to the schools. And it was really interesting because that was the majority of people. And I say that only because our board is really engaged. And when you can sit here and listen to the amount of time that our board members have spent developing relationships already in terms of getting into the school that they're the liaison for, being curious and asking questions, serving on committees, spending whole days here in the district outside of their work to do work and leading committees and preparing beautiful comments that were just as good as John Swicky's. So I just say that because I think that's an important thing also to recognize as a community. We want engagement, and we want engagement at all levels, and our board is really demonstrating that, and I just really appreciate that. The other point that I want to make, and I appreciate the presentation today, particularly around literacy, and Suzanne, you and Val and Julie did a phenomenal job of helping us to understand much of the work that I know you have started years ago. And I was talking to somebody else this week about the idea of moving a system is almost like moving like a freight train. It's not easy. But there has been very intentional work that's been going on in this district for several years related to staffing and infrastructure, reviewing curriculum to be able to make great recommendations, and then to be able to listen to the very, very thoughtful plan around the implementation and support for professional learning that we know needs to happen is really just incredible. And there's not a lot of leaders across the state or the nation that are that good and that can do it that well. People do a lot of things in education. I don't know that everybody is quite as thoughtful. So I am very optimistic about our babies and literacy and getting them to the point that they need to be. And I just appreciate the Herculean work that you and your department have done. And that includes the interventionists and the language development teachers and our staff that are working really hard to test this out. So thank you. And lastly, I would also like to just say a farewell to my friend, Steve Chatterton. So Steve, I call him my friend. He's also substitutes as my brother. He said something really profound to me a couple of weeks ago, and just that he's made this decision to move on, and which is such a great thing for him, to be young and healthy and to be leaving a district better than you started, and so much better. So to be able to have such great work, and also to have developed such great friendships and relationships is pretty special. and not everybody gets that in their work career. But we have so appreciated you. You've left us in a great place. I appreciate all that you've done during this transition, and I know that you'll continue to support us in more informal ways as we go forward. But I have huge gratitude to you, and I will miss you. So thanks so much.
It's your time to shine.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Seconded by Ms. Suarez. All those in favor? That passes 8-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.